Hello and welcome back to the Scoop with Coop. I'm of course Coop, and in today's video, I'm going to be reacting to the top 50 of Bleacher Report's top 100 players ever. I just want to do the top 50 because that way it's all players who are more relevant and easier to talk about. So without further ado, let's begin. At number 50, we got Dominique Wilkins. Dominique Wilkins was a great player. Obviously the 25 and 7 speak for himself, and he was one of the better shooting guards in the 90s and 80s. Now, obviously not the best because that's whenever Michael Jordan had played, but he was a great player and honestly was a bit ahead of his time in terms of his three-point efficiency, because that was whenever the line was further back, and was a great finisher and very athletic player. And so uh, I think this is a fair spot for him, although I think it's a little bit high, but I don't mind it too much. Ooh, all right, they're disrespecting. I don't know. Because on one hand, with Paul Pierce, you know that he was a good player, one of the better players on a championship team, and that he had a decent run of longevity. But you also look a four-time All NBA, which is what's the most important, really, and was not really the best player on those Celtics teams whenever they made it to the finals and won a championship. So I don't. Mm, I don't. I think he's a tough one to rank. No. No. All right, come on. Please tell me that it's no. It's still Russell Westbrook. That is horrible. Russell Westbrook is the only player, or at least the only player in the 20th or the 21st century since obviously Oscar Robertson to record a triple double, right? And that was revolutionary. No one had seen something like that in 40 years. Then he did it three more times. He's an MVP. He's made it to a finals. Is Mr. Triple Double, has the most triple doubles ever, and no. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't get behind that. No. Elvin Hayes, no. Russell Westbrook is better than Elvin Hayes. Kevin McHale, okay, my computer is just tweaking out. No, Russell Westbrook is better than Elvin Hayes. No, he's not better than Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale was actually a really good player for those Celtics teams. I can't bash on him too much. He was very clutch, if I'm not mistaken. I remember him having like multiple averaging like at least 25 points for multiple series for those Celtics teams, and it was very clutch. Anthony Davis at 45. Um, that one championship is really keeping him up here. I think Anthony Davis. He was just unfortunate to be drafted to such a bad team in the what were they, the Hornets still, or the Pelicans? So I think he is a great player. He is always, or at least whenever he was uh, in New Orleans, and for the better part, the majority of his time in LA, he was always considered like a top 10 player in the league, but always someone who could have been better. So I guess I understand him being this high or low. I'm sorry. No. You can't. You can't play in the 1940s. No. Who? Someone ranked him top 10? I understand that. I understand that he is influential, right? I get that. But he played 7 years. And I understand that he won 5 times in those 7 years. But if you played in the 1940s with 8 teams, or if you played with like 8 to 10 teams, and 90% of the league made the playoffs, I don't think that's impressive. The league widened the lane in 1959. All right. No, respectfully, sorry. I understand that you were influential, right? I understand that, but I can't get behind that. Walt Frazier. Listen, he was cold blooded. He was a great shooter and one of those players who if he played today would be much better. George Gervin, Iceman. Again, he was a great scorer in that era, and he really was a great player for a long time. Honestly, I mean, playing in 14 years and being a 12-time All-Star, although that's more of a popularity type of thing, but being a 7-time All-NBA and having great numbers defensively, that's respectable. I get behind that. No. Sorry, I was only doing the top 50, but then my computer decided to start wigging out again. It man, this is rough. But Rick Barry at 41. No, if you play the 1960s, I can't get behind it unless you're Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain. Patrick Ewing, one of the better players to never win a ring. Good player, and he had some series for the Knicks where he was just a monster. So I think he should be a bit higher, actually. But yeah, Clyde Drexler. I mean, he was another great player. Um, although I do think that he is rated pretty fairly. I think I'm not mad where he is placed. Nope, 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 nope. Listen, I'm a St. Louis guy, right? And he brought the Hawks, even though my parents weren't born then. I can say, shout out. But no, if you played in the 50s, nope. No! No, not Bob Cousy. No, 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 no. You know what? I'm probably going to make a whole separate video about Bob Cousy because Bob Cousy was so inefficient for his era. So inefficient. And to people who bring up the argument, well, he made All NBA over Jerry West and Oscar, they were rookies. And the year after that, he got just destroyed by them. And whenever he was asked to step up in the playoffs multiple times, he failed at that. In fact, I'm going to look and see what he did whenever he was asked to step up. I believe in the mid 60s for the Celtics. No, I can't get behind it. No. Can I get just his playoff numbers? Right? In the playoffs, he shot 34% from the field. He was super inefficient. And on the ones where he had super long playoff runs, right? We'll look there. We will look there for that Celtics team and see what we'll see what he was doing. So in the playoffs, in the he played in 2 series, and both of them went to 7, and was okay in them. But no, I remember when he was in the finals one time, Bob Cousy was just horrible. He was just atrocious. So no, Bob Cousy is not here. Allen Iverson? Allen Iverson is not close to Bob Cousy, in my opinion. They have to be ranking based on accomplishments, but even then, I think Bob Cousy is nowhere near Allen Iverson. Obviously, Allen Iverson was someone who was extremely limited because he, not only due to his size, but because of his attitude, and because he just wasn't willing to pass the ball at all. Even though he has 6 assists, he was a very tough player to play with. And speaking of guys who pass the ball, Steve Nash, I think he's underrated. Because he was a great player and he won multiple MVPs and took the Suns to really some of the most relevance they've ever had. But super efficient player, great player for a long time, and I think he should be a bit higher. James Harden, I like this placement for him because he's a great regular season player, but man, the playoffs of success has just eluded him, and it's not even due to his fault because he's he is clutch in the playoffs most of the time. It's just that whenever he needs to step up, he just doesn't. So I like this ranking for him. Jason Kidd, I guess because he has the 1 ring, but I still feel like Steve Nash is better than him just because of the MVPs, and I feel like Steve Nash was just better than him, even though Jason Kidd is higher on the all-time assist leader, I believe. Kawhi, the tough thing about Kawhi is he's not entirely a what if because you can see what he does and what he did do whenever he stayed fully healthy. But the what if about him is, what if he had stayed healthy longer? Would he have been even better? So I mean, I understand this placement of Kawhi because he's just so tough to rank. Hondo, pretty good. I mean, he. I remember looking a couple times, and he was just a monster in some of those Celtics series. I mean, he won so much. I mean, again, 8 rings in 16 years. I mean, that is just phenomenal. I mean, he is a great player. Chris Paul, I think, is underrated because, I mean, again, Chris Paul is a great passer, but he's also a very, very good playmaker. Because there's some seasons where he's had like 20 plus points in numerous times. In fact, I think I'm going to look and see how many of those he's had. Because I remember him being like top 5 in MVP voting. Like there's a time he had like 23 points, and in 2008-09, 23 points, 11 assists, and 3 rebounds. 23 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists, and 3 steals. Yeah, no, he deserves to be much higher than that. And John Stockton, nope. In fact, I actually have a video coming out pretty soon about me talking about how I think John Stockton's extremely overrated because 51% of his assists went to one person, and most of the time those assists would not be counted in today's NBA. So no, John Stockton should not be ranked this highly. Scottie Pippen, I get because he's the best second option ever and a multiple. I mean, he's one of the best defenders ever, and he would be so much better in today's NBA. I know I say that a lot, but a lot of players would be. But I mean, I think that John Stockton is nowhere near Scottie Pippen, and Chris Paul is above Scottie Pippen in my opinion. Zeke, Isaiah Thomas, I mean, he's a bit overrated and underrated at the same time because he's overrated by people who think he's a top like 5 point guard ever, but he's underrated because again he was a great player, but his prime was just so short. So I think this is a fair ranking of him. Elgin Baylor, I feel like he should be a bit higher because he was just an insane scorer, and he was almost always one of the best players when he had played. Charles Barkley, I think this is a bit high for him. I mean, his MVP was. I don't want to start like controversy, but his MVP wasn't great because that most of the MVPs in the '90s that didn't go to Michael Jordan weren't that great. So I mean, I think that okay. I mean, he did take the Suns to the finals, but so did Devin Booker. And I mean, he didn't win much at all, really. I mean, he never won a ring, but I don't think that's the end all be all. But I still don't think this is the right. I think he's okay. Giannis, so much better than Charles Barkley, in my opinion. I mean, you're telling me that the guy who is a depoy. No, I'm sorry. You can't. If you look, you have Charles Barkley, who's had multiple playoff flameouts, and then you've got Giannis, who had 50 points in a closeout game in the NBA Finals. Nope, can't get behind it. D Wade, I think he should be a bit higher just because of his prime. I mean, Dwayne Wade was putting up 35 points in the finals. And, I mean, he is another one of those great number 2 options on teams. 3 rings, I think? Yeah, 3 rings, 8-time All-NBA. Yeah, I mean, he was so good. The injuries just robbed him. I'm not going to talk about Karl Malone, mostly because with Karl Malone, it is tough to talk about just strictly basketball. You can Google what Karl Malone did, but I'm not going to address that at all. Nope. Moses Malone, yeah, I think this is a fair placement for him. I mean, he was very good, but just not for a super long. Not for as long as he played. He wasn't a top tier player for a long time compared to how long he had played. I guess that's the best way to describe it. But I think that's a fair placement for him. This takes in ABA, so this is a ridiculous placement for Julius Erving. I thought he'd be inside the top 15 because Julius Erving was just a monster. Obviously, one of the most influential players ever because he made dunking look cool. But no. ridiculous. David Robinson, I think this is a fair placement for him, actually, because he, outside of the Tim Duncan years, he was a kind of a loser. Um, Even though, again, he put up great numbers and was a monster, but I mean, he just didn't have much success outside of that. Dirk, he's benefiting from that one ring. Now, I get it was a tough ring, but his legacy would be so different uh, if he didn't win that one ring. I mean, his legacy would be so different if that didn't happen. Jokic at 17, I don't think it's particularly close between Jokic and Dirk. I mean, Jokic has been in my opinion, he should have won the MVP over Joel Embiid a few years ago. So that's 4 MVPs that I think he should have won. And if you want to include this year's, that could be 5. But being in the running for close to 6 MVPs, being one of the first people to ever go, one of the few players ever to get 3 in a 4-year stretch, no, he should be higher. He should be higher than that. Sorry. Kevin Garnett, yeah, I think this is a fair ranking for him because KG was an MVP in Minnesota, but then he was able to kind of focus more on the defensive side of the ball and just being a good rim protector and help defender when he was with Boston later on in his career. But I think he played a bit too long, and that affected his legacy, like with his time with the Nets and all of that. So I think that kind of affects and hurts his overall career. Jerry West, I think this is a bit low. I think this is a bit low for him. Because, I mean, he not only is he the logo, but I get that his prime was very short, but I mean, he was so good for so long. And he came in and was super efficient. I mean, his efficiency was so far beyond the era, and he was such a great player. But then if you look outside of just being a player, being a GM and all that, he has a case to be the best overall athlete for a singular team because of what he did as a GM and player. So obviously that's not taken into account, but I think he should be a bit higher than 15. Oscar Robertson, I think this is a fair placement for him. I mean, he was kind of didn't win as much as he was supposed to, but I mean, he played for the Kings and Bucks. I mean, 2 teams that aren't exactly known for success. But I mean, he was an MVP, one of the most well-rounded offensive players ever. So I can't really bash too much on this placement of him. I think that's about accurate. Ooh, this one's getting interesting. Kevin Durant at 13. I guess if you're, yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty fair placement of him just because I think whenever it comes to him being more focused on defense when he was with Golden State, he did that and he did it very well. And whenever he's needed to be an offensive just scorer, he's able to do that too. I think that Kevin Durant, one of the most efficient players ever, one of the best scorers ever, if not the best scorer ever. And there's no real way to stop Kevin Durant. Like, at least with LeBron, you can just kind of force him to shoot a little bit when he was younger. And with Michael Jordan, you could force him to go left, but there is no real stopping Kevin Durant. He is phenomenal. No, 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 no. Stop. Stop it. I'm just going to read a couple of numbers real quick. And you tell me if you think that you could name 10 players better than him. Right. We're just going to look. We'll look at the playoffs, right, when it really matters. In 1987, 38 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. Or we can look at one of his series where, you know what, he wasn't as great. You know, he only averaged 18 points, only had, only had 12 rebounds and 2 assists and 3 steals and 6 blocks. You know what? We'll go a bit later on, right? Whenever he was winning championships, we'll look. 33 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. No, Hakeem Olajuwon is top 10, and in my opinion, he's probably closer to top 8. No, that is ridiculous. This dude is one of the best rim protectors ever, and probably the best defender ever. No, ridiculous, ridiculous. Where did some people place him? Only one person placed him number 10. Ooh, that's disrespectful. No, 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 no. Kobe Bryant is top 10 ever. Who could possibly be above him? LeBron, Magic, Shaq, Kareem, Bird. I don't know if I already said it, but Magic, maybe Curry. Those are only 7 people. No, Kobe Bryant's top 10. No, I'm sorry. He averaged like 35 points in a season. One of the truly like best players in NBA history. And was just had great longevity. Could win with in multiple different eras with different style of teams. And was extremely loyal to one team, which I think matters to me a little bit. I like a superstar who's a bit loyal. But no, he won 5 rings. No, I'm sorry. Okay, not mad at it. I mean, I think Steph Curry's top 10, but I think this is a bit low. Best shooter ever, one of the faces of the 2010s, one of the most influential players ever. I understand that entirely. No, 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 no. No, Wilt Chamberlain is not top 10. No. The dude was a loser. He was the biggest loser in NBA history. No. When he was asked to step up, he failed. It took him getting to the end of his career when he already had great players alongside him. That's when he needed to win. No. No. And his numbers when compared to today's NBA, right, with the same number of pace and possessions, right, they're worse than Nikola Jokic's, right? And he was what, number 17? No. Sorry. Can't get behind that. Ridiculous. Okay. I think this is a fair spot for him. I think Kobe's better, though. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I guess, because the regular season was just kind of punted on for the last, 12 years of his career? Okay, I can get behind that. Shaq at 6, okay. Yeah, I mean, he was a monster. Shaq was insane. So I think this is a fair placement of him. It's not adding up. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Listen, Bill, respectfully, I know you won 11 rings, but you can't, no. You can't seriously tell me that Bill Russell is top 5 all time. Kobe's better. No, dude. No. No. You can't get me someone who wasn't the leading scorer on his own team. You can't tell me that he is one of the top 5 best players ever. I understand that he won a ton, more than anyone ever, but you can't tell me someone with 15 points per game is going to be a... He doesn't have great longevity, right? Averaged 15 points in his best season when he won MVP. He won 4 MVPs, he won 5. That's a bit crazy. Again, compared to the modern NBA, his numbers would be drastically brought down because the rebounding totals were not great. He played a ton of minutes. No, I don't. I think this is a ridiculous placement for him. Magic at 4, okay. I mean, obviously, Magic Johnson is one of the best point guards ever at the bare minimum number 2. So I'm not going to bash on that ranking too much. Kareem at 3. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a that's the only placement for him, really, honestly. Although I will say it will be interesting to see who's number 1 or number 2. I'm going to guess LeBron's at 2. But I'm going to give the argument for both of them being number 1. Although I've already kind of done that with the LeBron James versus 10 haters video. One LeBron James fan versus 10 haters video. But you know what? I'll bring back the points up. Yeah, number 2, LeBron. There's no question you'd have 2 Hall of Famers if you split LeBron's career in half. I don't know what the relevance of that is. Although I will say, you can check to see who the higher and someone put him at 3rd. Okay, disrespectful. Why would someone put Kareem at 4? Ugh. Some of this stuff is stupid. But yeah, I think that LeBron is... I think when you're getting this long of a career and this long of sustained excellence, I think you almost have to say, you know what, we've just got to look strictly at what he did in a certain cycle because his numbers are going to go down, just in terms of the overall, like, per game numbers because he's just continuing to play. But he's not even been that bad of a player up when he's older. But I mean, his prime was just insane. And I think being, 36 or 37, putting up almost a near 38-8 season is ridiculous. Obviously, being the best player to play for three teams, or being the best player to play for two teams, and then being top five in another. Um, and then he's going to get his jersey retired probably by all three teams that he's played for. I mean, he was just a monster. I mean, he was one of the most athletic players ever. Again, the longevity is insane. One of the most feared players, I would say, in NBA history. But I think, I can't be mad at LeBron at two. I really can't. So number one's going to be Michael Jordan, right? He's generally accepted as the GOAT, but his legacy goes beyond the stats and whatever. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I understand that Michael Jordan's shoes sell well, but in terms of just beyond the game, I guess Michael Jordan made the game global, and he made it to where players could be like they could be marketed with brand deals and sponsorships with like Wheaties, Gatorade, McDonald's, like Ballpark. I mean, he was bigger than basketball that way, but I don't think that I think obviously he gets kind of gets like made into a myth, I guess. But no, Michael Jordan was great. So overall, from the top 50 onward, I'd say this list is about like I'd say about a B, just because there's sometimes where they put players who are just so old, where they put players who played so long ago and act like they could compete. So I'm assuming this list is based on just overall career accolades and not based on who they are as players, because if that's the case, Bo Russell and Wilt get out of the top 10. But I think this is a pretty decent list, not one of the worst lists I've seen. But as always, this is Scoop with Coop. I'm, of course, Coop. Let me know if you agree or disagree with some of my takes in the comments down below. And until next time.